Happy MLK Day, guys. We are talking showdown, Cardinals at the Rams, and we've got some special guests coming in with us today. From Sports Capitalists, we've got Dangernation, and we've got Adam. What's up, guys? How you guys doing, man?
Doing good, man. Thank you for allowing us to come on the show. We appreciate it. Had a fun collab with you guys yesterday. Well.
I had a blast with our last video. It was really fun. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We did the Sunday slate, and we were loving Darrell Williams, and that didn't work out too well for us.
No.
Andy Reid must have watched the video.
Yeah, Greg Popovich over there messed with us. Ellie, what's up, man? How are you doing, man?
Just getting a little bit of a hangover from last night, right? Like this weekend of games that we've had has just been an absolute shit show. Like you've had to drink just to be able to survive through it, right? Like if you've ever made a case for, just going back to a 16-game season and a 16 playoff, this would be the weekend for it.
Sure.
Honestly, they should just go back and let the Chargers back in. Take the Steelers out and just replay the weekend. Just like, you know what? We should do this again.
Oops.
Yeah, we messed up.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at with it, man. But other than that, I'm just hoping the Cardinals can get through tonight.
Well, as you can see, we have some conflicting interests here. We've got two Cardinals fans on the left, and look at that. There we go. Danger over here is a Rams fan. This is going to be a fun show, man. There's going to be some banter here. There's going to be maybe some side bets or something, too, you know? And then, of course, we've got Adam, who's a Jets fan, and that doesn't really affect anything when it comes to the playoffs.
You didn't have to tell everybody that.
All right, guys. So let's just jump right into this. Cardinals in LA for the second time this year. This is the third matchup between these teams. Minus 3.5, 49.5 point total. Ownership is skewing towards the Rams, mostly because of Cooper Kupp. But this should be a close game, man. It's a dome supposedly, even though there's weather delays in a thunderstorm, but we shouldn't see any weather issues. So let's start with Danger over here, man. What are your thoughts on this line? Do you think this is accurate? Do you think the Rams should be favored by more or less? And what do you think about this over/under?
Oh, I think it's correct just across the board here. I mean, besides the first game, they've been relatively competitive like throughout the whole. Like I think even last time it was like plus 50 points and more. This game it's going to be a really good one. It's probably going to be the best wild card game this weekend. Like I definitely agree with what Ellie said. Sunday was just a complete shit show on all fronts, except maybe the Raiders-Bengal game. That was actually a pretty fun game to watch, but everything else was just other shit to watch. This is going to be a nice palate cleansing at the end of the week here. Yeah. So I'm hoping for a really good game. It is going to be a good game. And, man, we're here to help you guys make money on it, too.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, in terms of where the lines are now, they're trending towards the Cardinals and the under. The over/under started at 50.5. LA started as 4.5 point favorite, so now it's at 3.5, and the over/under's at 49.5. So could be, maybe that they're trying to drive it down so they can bet on the Rams and the over, which seems to be the popular thing. But at the moment, it seems like the money is trending towards the Cardinals and the under on this game.
And something interesting to bring up, Ellie and I have talked about this before, but division matchups, division rivalry games since 2005, week 10 and later, hit the under 61% of the time. Mm-hmm. So, it's not a hard and fast rule, it's going to hit the under, but, these type of games, I think, skew a little bit more towards tough defenses, these teams battling it out. I could see this being a shootout, but I am actually leaning more towards a little bit of the under on this particular game. And we're going to have to really think about that when we start building lineups here in a minute. Ellie, do you agree with that? Actually, no, you don't agree with that because you just sent me a screenshot where you bet the over and the Cardinals money line.
I like the over a little bit tonight. Just I don't think JJ, like, I don't mean to be a dick about this at all, but I just don't know that JJ Watt's going to be the person that all of a sudden turns the Cardinals defense back into what it was against Derrick Henry and the Titans.
Yeah.
I think Steve Keim, Vance Joseph absolutely failed their team by not patching up that run game for 10 weeks. They just failed to do anything to improve and we're completely disinterested. To me, that just implies that there's a very good chance that this is going to have to be a shootout. The Cardinals could be down pretty quickly just because their inability to stop the run. So to me, that bodes well for hitting the over. So that's where I'm at. And then one more thing, the Rams being 3.5-point favorites, honestly, that's pretty much a pick 'em when it comes to Vegas, right? Because they're going to get those 3.5 points for being the home team. So I think that's something to keep in mind while we're building. I know that it seems like the Rams are heavily favored, but this should be pretty much seen as a coin flip, right? And them getting the slight advantage because they're at home. But there's not much of a home field advantage in that stadium yet, and I don't need to be that guy to put Danger here on blast. But, you know, you guys need to start supporting your team out there in LA. If this was in St. Louis, I could see this easily being like a 4.5, 5.5 point favorite to
LA
St.
is
Louis
still
Rams.
definitely more of a college.
LA, bro, they don't give a shit about anything. They don't even know the Chargers are there.
If
Like,
it's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they pay rent or something, I think, at the stadium.
If it's not the Lakers or the Dodgers, that doesn't really matter. I mean, I lived in LA for about
even Angels.
or even Angels. I lived in LA for about a decade, and yes, I mean, if you showed up in the first inning of a Dodgers game, the stadium was empty. I mean, it's just the way it is around there. You know what I mean?
LA is a very conceited bunch. Man, for Rams to start getting fans, they need to start winning championships. That's what we're used to.
That's it.
I mean, for God's sakes, man, just look at the Lakers. You know, Kobe in his prime.
What do you mean, bro? You're not used to it. Maybe your parents were used to it. Like, when was the last time LA won a championship? Like, you have the bubble Lakers. All right, we're gonna get sidetracked. Yeah. So on episode 3, we'll have to get to that later.
Yeah. So So Danger, Ellie, and I, we host a weekly podcast where we're just shooting the shit, drinking, hanging out, talking about the previous week, the previous games. We're actually going to do that tomorrow night, Tuesday night. We're still on for that, right, Danger? You good?
Absolutely, I'll be there.
Cool. So, hey guys, help us out. Let's get to 500 subscribers today on this show. All right. So, like, subscribe. We really appreciate all the views. If we get to 500 subscribers, I'm going to give this away here. I'm going to give away a Joe Burrow Rookie Select Concourse HGA 9. I'll give it away at halftime of the show today. All right? I think we need 40 followers or something like that. Hit that subscribe button. I'll give this away at halftime. All right. Let's move on to injuries here. So we've got some stuff to talk about here. So really the only question mark for tonight is Rondale Moore, which I think is a big deal because he's priced low enough. And he's one of these gadget guys that might be able to really help you out. He's questionable. He's a game time decision. So keep an eye on that when inactives are released tonight. If he is active, I think he's a great play. We obviously have DeAndre Hopkins is out. James Conner is now expected to play. He's now probable. Chase Edmonds is back. So the Cardinals' backfield is healthy. Obviously, Cam Akers is back, which is interesting. We'll get to him when we talk about running backs.
Yeah.
Darrell Henderson is out. Am I missing anybody else here, guys? I don't think so. I think we've got
the entire Rams secondary.
Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I was going to say Van Jefferson.
He's questionable. He had a full practice, so he should play, but we'll see. You know, obviously, just keep an eye on that. And there's some injuries on the defensive side of the Rams there, Ellie. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, pretty much the entire secondary. They signed Eric Weddle.
That's right.
They're going to be down to Eric Weddle and Jalen Ramsey. And look, Danger, I appreciate you shaking your head over here, but like, I don't know how to explain this to you. You're dealing with 2 very pessimistic Cardinals fans. Like, Eric Weddle will come. You know Cam Newton exists, like his career exists because his second rookie game was against the Cardinals, and he threw for like 400 yards.
That was his first game, dude.
Right.
So look, here's the thing: is we're very much the team that can turn Eric Weddle into a fucking All-Pro from 2012, right? Like I'm right there with you. Now, Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not tonight, but we're worried about it, man. Eric Weddle is a real guy. He's a very cerebral safety. He was one of the best for a while, so he does have the ability to make an impact on that defense. And wasn't he with you guys for a little bit? You guys had him for at least a year.
Bit. I mean, the only thing that concerns me is that he has been retired for like 2 years. Yeah. So, you just can't get off the couch and become a pro football player in the state of the NFL. Has he been staying in shape? Sure. Who knows? But I think they obviously brought him back as more of a leadership and shot calling standpoint. Like he's, like you said, he's very cerebral, very smart safety. And I think that's probably what they need because, like, man, if you just watch the past few games and how like the secondary has just like collapsed in like coverages and like assignments and all that. Like most recently the 49ers game, they just didn't know what was going on in those like last 2 drives. I think Eric Weddle is definitely the guy that's going to tighten that up a bit. Who knows? It's only been like a week since he's been with them, but hopefully things can get cleared up here.
So these teams are kind of trending down lately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the 49ers, stock is going up. They sucked ass earlier in the year. And now we're starting to see both Cardinals and Rams not doing too well. They both lost last week. The Rams could have locked up the division. They did lock up the division, but they still lost, and they got bailed out by the Cardinals, losing to Rashad Penny, which is Adrian Peterson at this point, I guess. And so look, both of these teams are not doing too well. The confidence levels aren't too high. So who knows what we're going to see, man. I honestly would not be surprised if it was a blowout by the Rams, blowout by the Cardinals. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
It's so strange to say this because it's like, you're going to hear this statement and be like, well, duh. But both of these teams are very it depends on which quarterback like shows up today, really. Because both of these teams have lost or win based on the performance of their QB. And again, if you're listening to this, you're like, duh, it's the QB. It's the most important decision. But
they're up and down, man.
Exactly. Like you just don't know what we're going to get at Stafford this week. Is he going to throw, his 9th interception in 4 games?
4 games,
yeah. Yeah, coming out here today, or
17 picks.
Or throwing his 5th pick 6 in 5 games, or
will he throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns? Who freaking knows? That's a good segue here. Let's get into this breakdown here. Break it down. All right, so we're talking quarterbacks here. Obviously, we're starting with Kyler Murray at 11.2K and Matt Stafford at 10.8K. Both of these guys can absolutely crush. We know that. It's just like we were saying, which guy shows up? Is it the shitty version of them, or is it the MVP caliber version of them? And we saw earlier in the year, both of these guys had MVP, talks. They were in the race, and then that kind of disintegrated. So Ellie, let's start with you here, man. Do we have to have at least one of these quarterbacks in our lineup? It's going to be hard to build today, man, with how expensive everybody is. There's not a ton of value. So Ellie, do we jam both of these quarterbacks in, or are you leaning more towards like a maybe fade Stafford in a couple of lineups, or vice versa?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be an interesting build day overall, just because I don't think you're going to be able to afford both quarterbacks. Now, you are going to need one of these guys in every single lineup, so you're going to have to decide between Stafford and Murray. And I think it's really like one of the things that I do when I build my lineups. I'm almost always 2-4 or 4-2. Right. So if I'm doing that, then that's going to be the quarterback that I'm probably prioritizing. If I'm running a 4 stack with the Rams, then I'll have Matt Stafford and kind of build some pieces in there. And then on the other side of the ball, maybe I grab Zach Ertz and James Conner or something along those lines and capture the raw points that way. But I think that's something that's going to be necessary on this slate, because I still want to play Cooper Kupp, right? I still want to play some of these expensive players. But here's one thing I do want to say, and then I'll hand it off to someone who maybe disagrees with me. But I think you're going to be needing to prioritize Kyler a little bit more than Matt Stafford today. With DeAndre Hopkins being out, I think it kind of spreads out the offense a little bit more. We don't really know who's going to be the workhorse. It could be AJ Green. It could be Zach Ertz. It could be Antoine Wesley, right? We've seen him get a little bit of consistency with him at wide receiver. So I think you really need to soak up those points, kind of like what if you had Patty at captain last night. That was pretty important considering he had 7,000 yards and 16 touchdowns in the game. So this is something that's similar. I think Kyler is going to be pretty optimal when it comes to building, not even just a captain. I think he's going to be required in flex, kind of over Matt Stafford.
Yeah, Adam, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think more people are going to flock towards Stafford because they're going to like the Rams. They're going to see that Stafford is cheaper. Before we got into this segment, when we were talking about the spreads, kind of a rule of thumb for me is if something seems a little too good to be true, it usually is. And so seeing that the Rams are only 3.5-point favorites at home in a playoff game really seems like this might go the Cardinals' way. So I think if you're trying to attack the strategy of, get a little bit of leverage from ownership and fading one quarterback over the other, I would lean towards Kyler Murray, but it's close. But today I feel like is definitely a scenario where you probably want to play Cooper Kupp, so you're probably going to have to fade one of those quarterbacks. And I'm going to give the lean to Kyler Murray just because I think he might be a little less owned because he's a little more pricey.
And I think they unleash him in the rushing game. They're not going to hold him back. If he gets hurt, whatever, man. The coach's jobs are on the line. You got to win this playoff game. They just, let him run. Let him run the ball. This isn't a week 6 of the regular season. This is do or die. And I think that's another big reason. We've seen him many a times on the goal line run it in. We've seen him get 15, 20-yard runs. We saw a huge run a few weeks ago where they got caught on the 1-yard line. I think it was a 50-plus yard run. That's the X factor for me, especially by putting him at captain. And I think at captain, he might be criminally under-owned at captain, maybe the third highest owned behind Kupp, who's probably going to be 25% owned at captain. And to me, at that price and at that ownership, I actually wouldn't mind, going away from Kupp at captain a little bit on this slate and focusing in on a guy like Kyler at the captain spot. And you're not going to be able to get both quarterbacks unless you go super low, like you go into the 5,000 range at captain. You're just not going to be able to get both quarterbacks unless you want to fade Cooper Kupp, which is suicide in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to running backs here, unless you guys have anything to add.
Just to add, the 2 times that they've played each other already this year, Kyler Murray combined 100 yards rushing. The last time they played the Rams, 49 pass attempts. So that's a little bit more of an argument for Kyler Murray.
And we've seen it on both ends. We saw the Rams come into Phoenix earlier this season, a few games ago, and do pretty well. The Cardinals still hung around there at the end, but that game was dominated by the Rams. And earlier in the year, the Cardinals went into LA, which that seems like another season at this point. Those are like 2 different teams almost. Went into LA and they whooped them up. So who knows what's going to happen here? Let's go over to running backs. So let's start with the Cardinals. We got James Conner at 9,400, a touchdown machine, but averaging less than 4 yards per carry. He's the kind of guy that can get in the end zone 2-3 times in a game. And if you don't have him at captain or if you don't have him in the flex, you're screwed. Chase Edmonds at 5K. He's the guy that's getting the yards per carry. He can catch the ball out of the backfield quite a bit. He's a little bit more dynamic than James Conner, but we've seen James Conner catch the ball out of the backfield too. I don't mind handcuffing these guys in the same lineups potentially. Each of these guys at captain is a good option, but with Chase Edmonds at 5K, I think you just have to kind of lean towards them. Lean towards Chase Edmonds in this particular matchup just because everybody's so damn expensive. I think Conner might actually get a little bit less ownership in this game just because you can't afford him. Right, Ellie?
Yeah, I'm with you on this. 5K Chase Edmonds. I mean, I'm not sure that we're going to really have too much more clear value than that. I think, maybe like Tyler Higbee is around 5,400 or something, but I still think I prefer Chase over him. And yeah, I don't know, man. They're projected for similar amounts of points, him and James Conner. The one thing that we do want to keep in mind for James Conner, it's very easily he could end up with 25 yards and 6 touchdowns. So I think having a couple lineups with him at captain to kind of offset it, a bit of a fade there is probably the way to go, just in case he does have one of those ceiling performances. But to your point, I think I'm going to lean a little bit more heavily towards Chase. Yeah,
what do you think, Danger?
No, I completely agree. Again, we talked about earlier that James Conner is questionable and most likely probable that he's going to start. I think, so last time that they met, Rams, James Conner scored 33.5 points. And the first time they met, when he was splitting time with Chase Edmonds still, he scored 20.6. Conner makes the Rams defense's bitch when he's on the field. He's a slam dunk if you see him active for the game. Put him in as your captain. Easy play there. And yeah, if he's not, I mean, how you're insane if you don't pick up Chase Edmonds if Conner is for whatever reason out today. You need to start one of these. You need to start one of the, or if not both of these Cardinal running backs.
And, Adam, we saw last night with Darrell Williams, he was active but didn't get the start. So those coaches were obviously lying to us about how severe his injury was. McKinnon comes out looking like Priest Holmes. So I don't necessarily see that happening here with James Conner. But this is something to bring up. Just because they're active doesn't mean they're going to get the lion's share of the targets or carries. This is another reason to, troll Twitter before the game and see what some of these guys are saying about the warm-ups. Right, Adam? I mean, thoughts on that?
So it's definitely something to monitor because the arguments that everybody's making are totally valid. Chase Edmonds, from a lineup construction standpoint, at his salary, is probably going to be the more popular pick. I love James Conner as a GPP pick because I think he's going to be much more under-owned than he should be. His price tag compared to, we're on a slate with Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp. But again, like Danger mentioned, the last 2 times the Cardinals and Rams have played each other, James Conner has gotten at least 20 fantasy points. So, it's for sure something to monitor because this isn't something you can really make up elsewhere. It's a showdown slate. So, but if he's good to go, I really, really like him, especially as a GPP play because of what we've seen he can do against the Rams. And I think he's going to be under-owned because of his price tag relative to the rest of the slate.
All right, let's move over to the Rams side of the ball here. So this is kind of muddy waters here. Now, look, Sony Michel is clearly the number one, but, he's not really a number one on this team. There's been multiple number ones. It's just kind of running back by committee at this point. But if you had to bet on one player getting most of the carries, it's going to be Sony Michel. He's at 7,800. Now, Cam Akers coming into the season was the number one guy. He was the franchise future running back. He is an ACL injury, I believe, correct? It's a miracle that he's even playing right now.
It was his Achilles.
Achilles. One of those season-ending injuries, and somehow he's able to come back. 6,600. I don't know what their plan is for him. He didn't really come out and do anything too surprising last week. I don't know. Let's throw it to Danger on this, man. Talk to me about the running backs here, and who do you prefer, if anybody, here?
I don't care. Fade them both, dude. Do not start either one of these running backs this week against these Cardinals. Sony Michel, great running back. I just don't think that's what's in the cards for this game. I don't think that's what's going to be the game plan. I think he's mainly going to be in there to block pretty much this for this game. Don't care. Fade them both.
Yeah, it's interesting because last week, Sony Michel had 80% of the snaps and 20% went to Cam Akers. Now, you could see Cam Akers maybe getting in condition and maybe pushing that to 30%. But at that price tag, look, Cam Akers should be like 3K or like 2K.
Yeah.
He should not be that high.
Yeah, in the pregame, You're going to see him warm up. The announcing team or the shoutcasting team is going to hype him up, and he's going to get like 5 carries. Don't take the bait. And fade Sony Michel. I don't care about our running backs for this game.
Yeah, Adam, you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place here because now I'm hearing both sides. Danger's our resident Rams fan, and he seems pessimistic about it. Ellie's bringing up the fact that the Cardinals' run defense can't stop a nosebleed. So, but again, you don't know what that workload's going to look like. So I think if it depends on the type of player you are. If you're somebody that's doing like 150 lineups, I think you should have some exposure to both of them, more so on the Sony Michel side, I think, because I think Cam Akers will get more run than he did last time, but I can't imagine that it's going to be enough to justify his price. But if you're just kind of doing like I'm going to submit like a cash lineup and just do one lineup and try and double up on my money, I don't know that I would be crazy about playing either of these running backs. Again, I give the edge to Sony Michel just because I'm a little more comfortable with what his workload is going to look like, even though I'm still a little concerned about the upside, but just given the existence of Cam Akers. But yeah, neither of these guys are moving the needle for me, but if you told me I had to put one in my lineup, I would for sure do Sony Michel.
And, I want to hear Ellie's opinion on this, but, look, Cam Akers is 6,600, Sony Michel 7,800. There's a shot that Sony Michel will be double the ownership of Chase Edmonds at $2,800 more. I don't think that is that necessarily is the right thing to do. I mean, Sony Michel at 35% ownership, Chase Edmonds at 15% ownership, and he's cheaper. I mean, I don't know, man. Ellie, who do you prefer?
So I prefer Chase Edmonds in that 1v1. Look, I want to be clear. I think Sony Michel is a very valid play. Again, not only can the Cardinals defense not stop a nosebleed, they'll just turn it into a full-on bloodletting session. Like they'll just help you bleed more. So it's very possible Sonny could have 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. We saw it happen with what's his name last week in Seattle. So don't sleep on that 7,800. He could have a ceiling game. I think he's probably better off as a cap than option. So you don't have to get too crazy. Then you don't have to play him in flex if you don't really want to. But let me just put this into perspective just from the Rams side of the ball. Sonny Michel is $1,000 more than Odell Beckham Jr. and they're projected for about the same points. Odell Beckham is half the ownership projection. Cam Akers is $200 less than Odell Beckham Jr., projected for about double the points, and about half the ownership of ODB. So, even if those scenarios are crazy, and I do have the money to put in either one of those guys, I still think the guy I'm leaning to here is going to be ODB. And even then, you still have better values at 5,400. Tyler Higbee, he's going to be on the field 97% of the time, whereas Cam Akers or Sonny could cap out at 80 and 20 or whatever it is. So I just think there's better plays. There's other places that I'd rather spend my salary. But maybe I'm going to have some Sonny Michel if I'm building lineup specific to that sort of game script that'll support his volume. But if it's between him and Edmonds, it's Edmonds.
I love how OBJ always turns into old dirty bastard. It's just there's no way to get around it. ODB.
Yeah, ODB. Yeah, no, for real, man. I can't get around it. OBJ.
Right. Let's get to Cooper Kupp over here. Let's talk about wide receivers for the Rams. Cooper Kupp, $13K. This is one of the highest priced showdown players you've seen in a long time. This is like, Cam Newton, in 2015 or something like that. I mean, $13K for a guy, he is damn expensive, and there's not the Juju Smith-Schuster $200 value today. There's really nobody under the kickers that I'm comfortable with playing besides Antoine Wesley. So getting Cooper Kupp at $13K, I think he's an automatic lock in your flex. His floor is probably 15 fantasy points. I mean, realistically, he's going to get, 10 targets at minimum. And if the dude hauls in 7 catches for, 60 yards, that literally is his lowest output this year. And that was against the Cardinals week 4. He had 13 targets, only 5 receptions, 64 yards. And then he shredded him up the next time. So his lowest output was against the Cardinals, but I don't think that they're not the same teams that they were back then. So Ellie, look, before we get to these other guys, let's all talk about Cooper Kupp and how do we handle him. We've got to lock him in the flex at least, and I know Adam is a little higher on him at captain. So Adam, you start actually. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are, I think regardless of the game script, Cooper Kupp, I think is going to have himself a day here. He's done well against the Cardinals, so far this season. And I think at least maybe what I'm hoping a little bit, and it sounds like maybe the numbers you're seeing so far aren't supporting that, but I think the price tag might scare away, some people in terms of, I think he's still going to be played a good amount either way, but I think the price tag is going to maybe scare some people away from that captain spot. So that's kind of my line of thinking, is just trying to take advantage of even maybe just a little bit of leverage. But I mean, I think he's safer than both of the quarterbacks. So that's why I think I'm higher on him, because I think it's better today to play a Cooper Kupp and only one quarterback, as opposed to trying to squeeze in all three, and then you're stuck trying to, fill out the rest of the roster with bottom feeders. I think he has to be in your lineup either way.
Yeah, Danger, what are your thoughts? You're the Rams guy here. What do you think about Cooper Kupp? There's really nothing to talk about here, right? Just play him, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to talk about. You have to. It's the reason why he's 13,000. Like he is the most proficient receiver in the league right now. He's the best receiver in the league right now.
Yeah,
there's no question about it. And this team would literally be nothing without him right now. Yeah, again, like you said, there's nothing to talk about. You need to start him. You need to start him to even just be competitive in.
Yeah, absolutely.
In any of your slates. There's just who do you think is going to honestly, who do you think is going to outperform Cooper Kupp on all of these players? Just go down the list of all of them.
Nobody. Even a floor game for him. I mean, the stat is insane. I mean, 90 plus receiving yards in 16 out of the 17 games.
Yeah, so, and they're predicting 28 points from him this game. That's nuts.
As a median projection, you're getting 26 or whatever fantasy points out of him. That is absolutely insane. You don't see that too often, and there's a reason why he's 13K. So Ellie, I guess the debate here is captain or no captain.
No captain for me. He needs to hit 40 points to pay off a 13K price tag, but I think you do lock him into your flex. I think if we find some value, it might be interesting throwing him and captain in a couple lineups and maybe just running it back 5 Cardinals if you do that, or maybe even 4 Cardinals. Feeling crazy. But again, you're going to need some pretty serious value to do that, because the amount of lineups you're going to be able to build are going to be pretty clustered. So you will end up duping at some point. Honestly, I think that not to get too deep into the other position or the other players here, it's we really need to understand what's going on with Van Jefferson. I'm seeing some beat reporter as of Friday. Looks like Van Jefferson had a slight setback in his injury status. I'm sure that there's a good chance that he's going to be on track to play tonight. But if he doesn't play, that's going to open up a little bit more value. And I think we can start looking at guys like Ben Skowronek and, just Ben Skowronek. I don't know who Brandon Powell is. Bilal Powell's brother.
So
that's an old Jets reference there. You remember Bilal Powell, right? All right.
The Jets heartthrob. Yeah. So I do want to throw in real quick, when we talk about the captain spot, and you asked who on the slate has the potential to even match Cooper Kupp, and among the non-quarterbacks, the only person I can think of potentially, so this would be my dark horse captain, just based on the games that we've seen and the style of offense that the Cardinals have run sometimes, would be James Conner. Ellie mentioned it could very well happen that he gets 25 yards and 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns probably not, but you understand that they could get into the red zone, just try and let's take the easy run, try and hammer him in there. So I think Conner has that upside at a cheaper price tag if you're not willing to try and squeeze Cooper Kupp into your captain spot. So that would be my dark horse. He'd be, in my opinion, the only non-quarterback that has that potential upside.
All right, so let's keep this going. We got Odell Beckham Jr. 6,800, Van Jefferson 5,200. If Van Jefferson plays, he's that home run hitter guy. I like him at captain a little bit too if he does play, because people are going to be scared away from that Q tag. His ownership will be under 20% most likely. And at 5,200, you know, he's the kind of guy that can get you a 70-yard touchdown reception and, you know, four or five touches and kind of break the slate. So I'd rather put him at captain a little bit more so than in the flex, just to kind of like, you know, hedge a little bit. And then you got Ben Skownick, which he was supposed to be the guy that replaced Robert Woods in that position. Never came to fruition. He's 1,200. If Van Jefferson is out, I mean, you got to take a little bit of a shot at him, and you got to take a shot at some of these other, you know, fourth wide receivers on the Rams.
Depending on who's active.
Yes. You know, so let's move on here. Let's keep this going here. Let's go to the Cardinals side of things. This is I hate talking about this because with no DeAndre Hopkins, this team has not done well. Christian Kirk at 7K has been a decent player this year. He's been a little inconsistent with some drops, but he also has that home run ability. 7K, I think he's a nice flex option, but he's priced up a little bit too much. AJ Green's 5,800. We know what you're going to get out of AJ Green. He's sort of resurrected his career a little bit in Arizona. At least we know he can still play, but you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 targets for AJ Green, and you know, you just need one of those to go to the house. So it is a GPP all day for AJ Green. I don't think you put him in smaller tournaments because he's boom or bust. And we got Rondale Moore at 4,600. If he plays, it's a great option. The Cardinals are going to pull out all the stops. They're going to do all the trick plays. They're going to do all the wildcat. They're going to do everything possible. Rondale Moore will line up in the backfield. Who knows what's going to happen if he's playing. He's 4,600. I like to see him a little bit cheaper. If he doesn't play, look, it opens up a lot for Antoine Wesley. And even if Rondale Moore does play, I think Antoine Wesley has gained a lot of trust from the coaching staff. Cliff Kingsbury coached him a few years ago. At Texas Tech? They have some familiarity there. He's 1,800. He's the lowest guy that I'm willing to pay for, and probably the best value on this slate, because he can catch you 2 touchdowns. But it's still a very, very risky thing to talk about here. So, Ellie, who's your favorite option here? How do we approach this? Do you try to fit one of these guys into your lineups? I mean, do you set a rule that you got to try to get Christian Kirk or AJ Green or Rondale Moore? How do you handle that?
I mean, yeah. Oh, sorry, you were talking to Ellie. Never mind.
No, man, go ahead.
No, if you got something to say, do it, man. Go.
No, I mean, you have to start, like, you have to put in Antonio, or you have to put in Wesley, man. Like, just to alleviate some of the stress on, like, the salary cap that you have going on here for 1,800. At least he's shown that he can catch the ball, even though he's only in, like, what do we got here? He's only in like 30% of snaps, but at least when he's in, it looks like he does get targeted at least at most like 5 times a game. And quite a few of those are in the red zone too. I mean, in the last 3 games, he's caught 3 touchdowns.
He's a red zone hog. I mean, last week he had 78% of the snaps. He's trending up a little bit. He's gaining some more trust. 34 routes run compared to the other guys at 41. So he's the guy they're targeting along with Ertz in the red zone. Ellie, we got to fit. This Cardinals team is not going to win unless they can actually come out and actually throw the ball. I just don't see it happening. So you got to try to fit one of these guys in.
Right, and so I'm with Danger here. I think Antoine Wesley is the clear and obvious value on the play, especially at what looks like sub 20% ownership. But I think you also have to jam in kind of a rotation as best you can. You need to get Wesley Kirk. You need to get Wesley Green, Wesley Moore, or maybe not Wesley Moore, maybe Rondale with Kirk or Green. But I think you need to get Wesley Ertz to kind of rotate in that other piece. I think you need 2 pass catchers from the Cardinals today. And to be fair, I think we need to include the running backs as kind of pass catchers. This is a different offense that kind of rotates their backs in to just get volume as well. I think you need 2 pieces to stack here with Kyler. So I like taking Wesley at an $1,800, not even pure punt play. Like, he could easily end up with 2 receptions, 8 yards, and a touchdown as well, which is what we're looking for $1,800. I know Juju didn't play 100% of the snaps last night, but at $200, he had 7.6 points, and unfortunately, Pittsburgh defense had a touchdown, so that's what just barely knocked him out of the optimal. So don't sleep on these value plays just because they're risky. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to be probably prioritizing AJ Green just because of his price tag, and he's still the best, first through third down receiver that they have on the team. Christian Kirk is great, but he's a big play guy. He needs to get up in the seam. He needs to kind of break loose on a route, right? AJ Green should be used to pick up first downs, and if him and Kyler can kind of get that connection, there's no reason AJ Green shouldn't be having these games where he's catching 7, 8, 9 passes for 100, 120 yards and a touchdown. Last week he was targeted 9 times. So they have the capacity to get him there. He's priced well enough that I think you take a couple stabs on him as well. But I think I like AJ Green, then Christian Kirk, Antoine Wesley. Not too high on Rondell Moore. He's just priced too high for me.
Adam, send us off on this wide receiver category. Thoughts, favorite players here? Are you prioritizing any of these guys?
So I'm going to say more of the same. Antoine Wesley, for the same reasons that we liked Juju, you would want to play Antoine Wesley, especially when we're talking about the quarterbacks, Cooper Kupp, James Conner. Antoine Wesley just provides that relief and still the potential upside to get you there. I'm not crazy about the more expensive receivers just because of what you mentioned with the style of their offense. I would prefer to play the Arizona running backs or even Zach Ertz, just based on what their price tag is, what their floor potentially could be. So I think you should still obviously have exposure to him, and I think I'd lean more towards Kirk than Green, but even though he is more expensive, but I'm not crazy about either of those top 2 guys. I think Antoine Wesley should be in there to give you that relief and again, still that potential upside. But in terms of their receiving options, I think I'm looking more towards Zach Ertz or either one of the Arizona running backs.
Speaking of Zach Ertz, let's talk about tight ends. There's really only one guy to talk about here, $6,200 for Zach Ertz. He's too cheap. This is the number 1 option for Kyler since he got there. We haven't, at this exact moment, only a couple games into his Cardinals career, he may be the best Cardinals tight end ever at this point. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing to write a home about when it comes to Cardinals tight ends. 6,200. You could see 7+ targets going his way, and they're going to target him in the red zone. He's the number 1 guy they're going to be targeting. You look at his past few games. I mean, 9 fantasy points against the Rams, and then 13, 11, 15. I think he's a great captain option. And I think he's one of the guys that I'm going to be heavily over the field on because I think his floor is still very high and his ceiling is still, in the 25+ point range. So
what game did he come over to the Cardinals? What week was that?
I don't remember, to be honest. It's probably like week 6 or 7 or something like that? I don't remember, to be honest.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I think it was LA, wasn't it? Didn't he have a touchdown? Like his first touchdown was
week 4, maybe?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't there yet. So it looks like it was probably week 5 or 6. But the moral of the story here is he is.
It's against Houston.
Against Houston, right. Yeah. He's the guy, and I think I think people are gonna sleep on him. They shouldn't be. At 6,200, he's a great captain option, like I said, because that's a nice price range to be able to fit in both quarterbacks, fit in Cooper Kupp, and kind of play around with some of the middle range wide receivers. Christian Kirk's at 7K. You're able to kind of fit that in, and especially if you wanted to throw in, if you wanted to fade like Stafford, having Ertz at captain, man, you can do a lot in the flex. Anybody have anything to say about this before we speed this up and move to the other side?
I have one thing to say. Ertz is plus 1,500 for first touchdown.
Ooh.
That's crazy. Like that's the same odds as AJ Green. I think Cam Akers is like plus 600 for first touchdown. So that's crazy.
They jammed that. Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
I have already placed that bet.
I think the reason why it's so high is because he's only scored 3 touchdowns with your team, but he's been targeted 20 times in the red zone. So, Murray likes to throw to him in the end zone, but the brother's got to catch it, man.
One thing we have to really emphasize in Showdown, it's not necessarily the results all the time. You're looking for opportunity. Yeah. We've seen 20 red zone targets for Ertz, and he's gotten 3 touchdowns, but man, that just boosts him up so much higher for me because he's getting those chances at scoring. and you play this game 100 times, he's probably going to score a couple times out of that. So we'll just see what happens here. Let's move over to the other side. Tyler Higbee, 5,400. Higbee is always one of these guys where you're scared to not play him. But then when you do play him, he sucks. I don't know how to handle Tyler Higbee. I never know how to handle Tyler Higbee. So Danger, talk to me about this because I don't know what the hell to do with him.
Man, yeah, they definitely like using him in their games. He's definitely always an option. I call it recency bias just because he had an incredible game last week. But yeah, he's just always not a feel good start. You're like 5,400. Is there something better I can do?
Yeah,
with that money. With no offense to Higbee because I know he watches this show.
Yeah, he is watching right
now for sure. But I don't know, man. It's to the point where I see that 5,400. I'm like, because he consistently gets at least 10 points, but at that rate. If you're only going to get 10 points from this guy, I'd much rather just start a kicker.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
maybe $1,200 less.
Hey, that's a great segue. Unless anybody else has anything else to say, let's transition over. Everybody good?
Yeah.
That's really all I had to say about Higbee. Sorry,
Adam. Go ahead. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, he's. I'd be okay with being under the field on Tyler Higbee, even if he's a lower ownership. He seems looking at his stats, he's really weird because he's getting the targets, but he still is very touchdown dependent.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So I don't, and at 5,400, that's not the kind of guy I want to play. I think everybody's going to agree that you would 100% rather play Zach Ertz, and I don't know that there's going to be a ton of people out there playing two tight ends on this slate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not big on him at all.
If you're doing 100 lineups or something, I would have probably 10 or 5 or 10 with him at captain just in case because he can score 2 touchdowns. We've seen it happen. But I'm not loving him in the flex, I don't think.
Yeah. More leaning towards 5.
I don't hate it, but I don't love it. You can find something better. That's pretty much it.
All right, so let's talk about kickers here. You got Matt Gay, you got Matt Prater. Matt Gay is a very consistent kicker. He's going to make more than he misses, but his range is slightly limited compared to Matt Prater. Matt Prater is a boom or bust kicker. He's going to kick you a 62-yarder or he's going to miss a 35-yarder. In a game like this, in a dome-ish, a quotation dome, you get a little bit of a boost. And for me, I actually think the kickers get a little bit more of a boost because I think that this is more of a hard-nosed game, division rivalry game. These teams know each other. I think that this comes in on the under. That's just my opinion. And I think one of these kickers has a chance to, look, Matt Prater crushes a 50-yarder and a 40-yarder, and that's it. That's 9 fantasy points for a guy that's 4K. That's the kind of, and then any extra points. That's the kind of salary saver we might need, and a lot of people aren't going to be focused on these guys at coming in between 10 to 20% ownership. So anybody with an opinion one way or the other on kickers today?
Don't play 2. I think 1's fine.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Adam.
I really like Prater. I give him the edge over Matt Gay. I think too, in terms of lineup construction, if you're doing a lineup where you're fading one quarterback, I think you should bring it back with the kicker on the other team.
It's a great point.
So if you're fading Kyler Murray and you're playing Matt Stafford, then you should put Matt Prater in your lineup because you're suggesting then that maybe the game script isn't as great for Kyler Murray and maybe they stall out in the red zone, and that's why you're not playing them. If you're stacking the kicker and the quarterback on one team, if the quarterback scores, you're guaranteeing that a kicker gets a point, but they're only getting 1 point as opposed to maybe you think Kyler Murray has a worse game and they have to settle for field goals. So I think if you're only playing one quarterback, you should play the other kicker. And it's close. I still really like Matt Gay too. Ellie's right. Don't play both of them. But if you're doing a one quarterback lineup, I would play the kicker on the other side of it.
All right, let's move over to defense here. Rams 3,800, Cardinals 3,600. I think both of these defenses are in play. They're both defenses that you could see having big plays, strip sacks, interception for touchdowns, especially the Rams. And when it comes to the Cardinals, you've got Marcus Golden, you've got Chandler Jones, you've got guys on the edge, and obviously the Rams these defenses are very similar. I think the Rams defense is a little bit better, but they're very boom or bust type defenses. Like they can score you a touchdown randomly. And obviously like we saw with the Steelers. One Steelers was in the optimal yesterday. It was a 5-1, and it was the Steelers defense. So weird things can happen. And at 36 and 3,800, I don't know that I like them more than the kickers, but I think you got to rotate them in a little bit. Anybody have anything to say?
I think you fade both of these. Again, we think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the cost of what you're getting out of these defenses, I mean, just pay a little more and get yourself a kicker.
Yeah.
Instead, I think these are. I wouldn't be surprised if both of these defenses end up negative. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you think the game is going to go over, I wouldn't play either of them. But so when you're thinking about defenses, you have to tell yourself a story about what you think the game is going to look like. Does the game go under? In which case, at least one of the defenses would be in play. Does the turnover Matt Stafford show up? In which case, you give the edge to the Cardinals. I'm giving a little bit more edge to the Rams just because it's a playoff home game. But like we mentioned, a home game in Los Angeles doesn't mean as much as normal. But I think it goes a little under, so I'd lean towards the Rams. But neither of them are really doing it for me, especially with the kickers being that close in price range. I think both kickers would have more upside, because even if the game goes under, I think there's still enough points to be had where the defenses aren't really going to do much for you unless they can get multiple turnovers and maybe even take one back.
Absolutely. All right, let's move over to our fade of the night here. We're going to start from right to left. Adam, your thoughts on fading Cam Akers and your reasoning behind that.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it earlier. It doesn't so much have to do with his previous game, because I think he gets more run than the last game. I think they're trying to ease him back into it. But, Sony Michel's been a very good running back for them. So and his price is gross. So I think it's worth having a little bit of exposure to him if you're doing multiple lineups. But I can't see the upside for his price unless something happens to Sony Michel, or unless the Cardinals get out to a really big lead early, which is unlikely, no offense, but the game is projected to stay close, so I'm really not a fan of Cam Akers this week. Yeah,
Danger, you're fading Sony Michel. You're probably fading Akers too, right?
Yeah, I'm fading both of the like I said earlier, Rams running backs. I just don't think that's what the game plan is. Do I think he's going to get work? Absolutely. Do I think he might, it's going to be 3rd and 3 and they push for or 3rd and goal and they go for a rushing TD? Yeah, maybe. But I just don't think it's in the game plan overall. Sony Michel will get some action, but I don't think it's going to result into much.
So, Ellie, you're not really interested in taking a stand, which is fair enough in a game like this. We whenever we do these shows, sometimes you have a bold take and sometimes you don't. And I think in this case, I kind of agree with you, Ellie. For me, is simply just Cooper Kupp at captain. I personally think he's going to be 25% owned in the captain spot, and I think he'll be 80+% owned on the slate, potentially in the high 80s overall. So I'd rather just stick him in the flex and hope he doesn't have a 40-point output or something, because I don't have a way to get too different. There's not a lot of value I'm comfortable with. Kupp at captain, I'm just going to focus on. I'd rather put Kyler Murray at captain, to be honest, because he's going to be more than half the ownership, or less than half the ownership of Kupp. All right, let's get to our Crown Their Ass segment. This is our favorite captain for DraftKings. Danny Green, rest in peace.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
All right, let's do this from right to left again. Kupp for Adam, not really a whole lot to explain there.
Odell,
ODB or OBJ, whatever you want to call him. For Danger, a quick explanation of that. I mean, he's got high upside. You think he can accomplish that?
He's got high upside. He performed really well against the Cardinals last time. He is red zone dependent, but with that, he is priced reasonably at the captain position where you can make plays on the rest of your slate. on the rest of your lineup.
Yeah.
So that's why I like OBJ again. Think he's a solid choice for it, and I think he hopefully, they'll like triple team Coop and open up plays for OBJ to do his thing. So
yeah, and especially if Van Jefferson's out, that really opens it up for OBJ.
Exactly.
Ellie, when I was doing this morning, the first thing I did before I even knew what my pick was, I automatically did the graphic for you because I knew you were going to pick Ertz. I mean,
you didn't even text me. You didn't even reach out.
I didn't even reach out. Exactly.
I texted him like 20 minutes before the show, like, "Hey, I'm going Ertz." But shocking, right? Ellie's going tight ends. All right, well, back to you, Tyson.
Kyler, obviously rushing upside. I know people skip around the show a little bit. They use the timestamps to come over here, so we're kind of repeating ourselves. But Kyler Murray, huge upside, and I think they unleash him on the ground in the playoffs. They're not going to hold back anything. A lot of jobs on the line. So that and the fact that he's probably going to be less than 10% on the captain is criminal in my opinion. All right, so now let's build a lineup together, guys. So first I want to build a couple lineups with a couple of these different captains. And then I want to build a lineup that we all kind of collaborate on and we'll enter, like kind of like what we did on your guys' show. So right off the bat, let's just optimize and see what this spits out for us. So Antoine Wesley at captain, interesting. Okay, I'm not going to go that route maybe, but hey, that's just proving that we need to find some value at the captain spot potentially, because look, you got Chase Edmonds, Christian Kirk, Stafford, Murray, and Kupp. So in order to get the Cooper Kupp and the two quarterbacks, you got to do an Antoine Wesley captain or just completely punt with some random $200 guy. I don't love it. So let's build our own lineup here. Let's start with Cooper Kupp and see what we can do.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. So
yeah, this one might be a quick one.
So
and 20,000 gone.
And gone.
Yeah.
Well, let's just optimize and see what it wants to do here with him locked. So Wesley, Edmonds, Higbee, Kirk, and Murray. I don't like that at all.
I would take out Kirk and put in Ertz
Yeah, there we go. Let's do that.
and see if you can upgrade elsewhere after that.
We got 900 left. Can we get somebody instead of Higbee?
Yeah, I was going to say upgrade Higbee too.
Instead of Higbee?
You can go to AJ Green. I don't know if I love that though. I might actually rather go Higbee, but also you can go Van Jefferson there as well.
I would.
You could also maybe what if you put in Prater and then try and upgrade Edmonds?
Yeah, let's try it. So Prater, let's see what we can do with Edmonds. 7,300 on the table. That gives us Christian Kirk. I'd rather have Edmonds almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's build this from scratch here.
That's
all right?
a rough one.
So let's just start by fading Stafford in this lineup. Let's throw Kyler Murray in. Now let's look at. We got to try to get one of the skill position players from the Cardinals. Do we want to go with the James Conner? Do we want to go with the Chase Edmonds? Should we just put Antoine Wesley in right away?
I think we should start with Wesley. Yeah, because you're going to have to if you're having a Cooper Kupp lineup.
Okay. What happens if you throw in Connor and then Edmonds?
I love this, by the way. This is the one handcuff I would do. And that leaves us 3,100. Not bad. Who can we get down here? You got Eno Benjamin, which I wouldn't touch in this game. Ben Skowronek, Greg Dortch. It's slim pickings down here, man. It just sucks, man.
Yeah.
If we had one guy in the $1,000 range, we'd be able to do these kind of lineups. But it just... I don't know.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp at captain mode. It's a hard life right now.
It's a hard life.
It's hard.
It's a hard life. Let's transition away from Cooper Kupp. I think there's going to be enough people building lineups for Cooper Kupp. Let's go. Who do you want to go? Somebody throw out a name.
Let's go Odell. I want to see what Odell looks like. Let's check out Dangerous Captain here.
All right, Odell. How do we? So are we? We want to plug in both quarterbacks?
Let's try and get both quarterbacks if we're going to run Odell at captain.
All right. Now, where do we go next? We got to go one of the running backs for the Cardinals or one of the wide receivers potentially?
Yeah, pick up Connor.
All right, let's go Connor. Let's see what that leaves us. 8,400. So we could go down to Wesley and then pay up, or you can go middle of the road.
I was about to say, get our boy Wesley in there.
All right, Antoine Wesley, 1,800. 6,600 on the table. We should be able to get a guy like Zach Ertz, Cam Akers.
Boy Ertz in there.
Ertz.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can rotate. You got Ertz, Green, Higbee, Van Jefferson, Chase Edmonds, Rondell Moore, kind of all within that price range, and then you get into the kickers.
See,
this isn't awful.
This is the kind of roster construction that'll take home a first place. You got a 2-4, which is a little random, but these 2-4s hit all the time. Odell Beckham, Stafford connect for a lot of yards. Odell Beckham has a big touchdown or something. I think this could be a great lineup. All right, let's move over. See, Odell Beckham is looking nice. Let's see how Ertz looks. All right, so Zach Ertz. Now you want to go both quarterbacks here, since we got the salary.
I kind of want Coop actually.
Yeah, I was going to say. Dude,
we didn't get Cooper Kupp.
Kyler and not in the last one. No.
DJ?
I didn't even. I kind of forgot about that. Okay, yeah, we're going Kupp here. All right, let's see what we can do. You want to go? In this case, we should probably go Chase Edmonds, right?
Hold on, throw in Stafford. Let's just see where we're at.
I think we're fucked here. 5,700.
And then Wesley.
Okay.
Yeah, obligatory.
You're gonna get. I mean, 3,900. Let's see.
Can you put in Prater? Can you put in Prater?
No, you're just off. I'm telling you, DraftKings, they know what the hell they're doing, man. 3,900. We're just missing Prater. Let's kill Stafford.
Damn, we have to put in.
Or, I mean, look, if Van Jefferson's out, you can go down to Skronik, and then you do get Prater.
Okay,
So
all right, let's try it then. Let's try that. I mean, Wesley and Skronik, it scares me to death. But no, we want to do.
I think he was saying Skronik instead of Wesley. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I feel you. Okay, cool. Let's put in Stafford, and then let's put in Matty Prater here.
You.
Dude can kick a 68-yarder. Hey, not bad.
Yeah,
I like it. So
so
far we're liking these middle range captains. I think they're safe, and you can fit in both quarterbacks in the flex along with Cooper Kupp. Okay.
I might be rethinking my captain pick.
Well, let's do. Hey, look. I mean, you're going to have to get some exposure to Kupp, especially if you're doing cash or single entry. Just put Kupp at captain. So let's do Kyler Murray. Let's just see what happens when I hit optimize. Let's see what pops out. Wesley, of course, Edmonds, Ertz. So this is a 5-1 onslaught here. I don't know that I'm too interested in that. Let's do this. Let's do a 2-4 Cardinals and 4 Rams. So who's the other Cardinal we want to get? I don't want to get Anton Wesley as the only other Cardinal. I want to get a real guy that we can put in. Chase Edmonds?
I think you have to put in Ertz, yeah.
Or Ertz?
Mine,
yeah.
It would be Ertz or Connor for me. So I think Ertz.
Okay, let's do Ertz. Let's do Ertz. Now let's focus on the other side here. So we got 4 Rams. Let's just automatically plug in Cooper Kupp. Obviously, that leaves us about 4,600 per spot. So we're gonna have to find some value. We could go middle of the road for a lot of these guys. So you can do a Van Jefferson. What do you guys think? Who should we pop in first?
I don't mind playing the Rams defense in this kind of a lineup because we're not going to be able to get the quarterback. So I actually don't mind it. It's going to be contrarian as hell to do that too.
Okay, we got 5,100. So I think we should throw in Van Jefferson here.
Yeah.
At 5,200. That leaves us with 5K.
Chase Edmonds, baby.
Chase Edmonds. So this is a 3-3, which is fine. You could go down.
The Rams defense if we're doing Chase Edmonds. I think if you're keeping the defense in, this is a Matt Gay lineup.
Yeah.
If you take out the defense, then
can't quite get to Matt Gay instead of we can do Matt Gay here.
He's saying the Rams defense and Matt Gay.
Oh, and Matt Gay instead of Jefferson? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's try that. So
instead of Edmonds.
Instead of Edmonds.
Instead of Edmonds.
Rams, Jefferson, Matt Gay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I haven't even started drinking yet. I'm already messing things up. All right, Matt Gay, 4,200. Yeah, that's not bad. This is a nice 2-4.
And then to Danger's point, if you wanted to come off of the Rams defense and Matt Gay, then you could toss in Chase Edmonds, and then I think you said you had 3,800 left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the key tonight, let's talk a little bit more general strategy here. So the key, obviously, we're going to need to wait till we see some inactives because I honestly, no offense to these guys, I hope somebody drastic is out tonight because the way that we're building is I'm not super excited about it. These are usually the kind of slates that I crush on when I'm not excited and I just don't care. But who wants to volunteer here? Let's start with Adam. What's going to be your strategy tonight when you're starting your builds? How many lineups do you think you'll do tonight, by the way?
Not a ton. I'm not, the single game slates, I don't do as much. I prefer like the 2 or 3 game slates. But my strategy would be leaning towards the Cardinals side of things. Because I think my best bet, if we're talking non-DFS, I think the Cardinals cover 3.5. That would be my pick there. So I think I would attack the Cardinals a little bit because I think they're going to be a little bit more under-owned compared to the Rams. Kyler Murray, again, if he's healthy and he's good to go, I really like James Conner.
Yeah.
Just because we've seen what he can do, and I think he's going to be really under-owned, even if he is a full go, because I think that questionable tag and the existence of a healthy Chase Edmonds is going to scare some people away. So that's where I would lean. And again, don't be afraid of the kickers, because this slate in recent memory, maybe even all season, is probably the most comfortable I feel about both kickers.
Yeah.
Again, I wouldn't play them both in a lineup, but there's tons of lineups where I could see just throw in a kicker, that's fine, and I feel totally comfortable with it, where I can't say that with a lot of previous showdown slates.
Danger?
I'm going to pray to every football god I know and just hope everything hits it out of the park. Yeah, a lot of reason why we don't know what's going on is because quite literally anything could happen this game. We just gave our opinions on what we don't think, but I mean, all cards are on the table for this game. You know what I mean? With what's on the right now.
Yeah,
so,
flip a coin almost.
Yeah, exactly. I think this game more than any is just a little bit unpredictable on what's going to happen. Besides Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cooper Kupp. Just play Cooper Kupp. If you have any doubts at all, just don't put him at captain. Ellie, what are some strategies you're going to employ tonight when you start building?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be focusing on the 1 quarterback fade and then kind of just jamming in whoever I can. I'm going to be doing heavy 2-4, 4-2s, and just praying for kind of just an onslaught type of comeback from one of the dogs. Other than that, the only thing I have to say in addition is you guys have me up until lock, and then you can have me a little bit at halftime. But once this game's on, I don't give a shit about what else is going on in the world.
Oh yeah, this I'm getting flashbacks to when the Suns were in the finals. The amount of stress and the amount of sweating I had going on. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just standing in front of I wasn't even sitting. I was just standing in front of the TV for 3 or 4 hours.
Bro, I realized like a month later that I was drunk for about 4 weeks while they were making that playoff run. Like, I didn't realize how much I was drinking. Like, I didn't.
All right, guys, help us get to 500 subscribers. I'm giving this away tonight at halftime. Joe Burrow, rookie. Get us to 500 subscribers. He's
giving it away like Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, exactly. If we hit 500 subscribers. Only if we hit 500 subscribers. We appreciate it. Once again, guys, follow Dangernation, follow Adam, follow the Sports Capitalist YouTube channel. Join their Discord. You guys have been crushing it in Discord and Twitter, right? I mean, you guys have been absolutely crushing it. Hit them up for sure. Join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter as well. Anything else to say before we send it off?
Let's fucking go Rams, baby.
Good luck to both of you guys. I'll be just doing mock drafts because the Jets have 2 top 10 picks next year.
That's some nerd shit right there. I love it. All right, guys. See you guys later. Thanks a lot.